Hi, it's Alaska Granny. Have you heard the term social distancing? Well, it's a term that's used by public health officials to talk about preventing the spread of diseases or pandemics. Did you know that it's part of a pandemic protocol that's been in place in our government, in many of the branches of our government since 2007? Homeland Security has a pandemic social distancing protocol. So does the Center for Disease Control and even the U.S. State Department. Many of us are not even aware that those plans are in existence. We hear them brandished about, well, let's not worry about disease or what if disease comes, but there actually are policies in place within the United States because these things are completely possible that we'll have a huge outbreak of a disease. True, we haven't had one in many, many decades, but that doesn't mean it will never happen again. There are always diseases that are evolving or being brought from foreign lands that can affect us overnight. And the problem is that if many people become sick, then there's a breakdown in the way that our supply lines of, say, our food, because we know that our stores only stock 3 days worth of food. Well, if the clerks are sick, who's going to sell you the food? If the truck drivers are sick, who's going to bring you the food? If schools, the teachers are all sick, you can't go to school. The government has the right to cancel and suspend meetings, close libraries, and not allow people to gather for concerts or any kind of gatherings or festivals. So they are encouraging you, the protocol that is in place is encouraging people to have a minimum of 2 weeks of food in their home, up to 12 weeks. So, we've heard these things lots of times, and we even hear the government telling us we'll have a 72-hour kit, but they're actually requesting that you have much more than that in case a disease or a pandemic should come. Because a pandemic, once it begins, cannot be stopped. You can't stop the disease from running its course. The only thing you can do is try to eliminate your risk and stop the exposure to it. And so if you can stay home and out of the way of being in public or in crowds, then you have a much better chance of either not catching it or recovering from it. So I know for my own family, when my children were the little people, one of them got the chicken pox. And so for 2 weeks, we had the chicken pox. Well, then guess what? At the end of that 2 weeks, the other child got the chicken pox. And so we had 4 weeks of chicken pox. Can you imagine if it was something that was like a new kind of flu that spread throughout your community like that? Because you need to realize that you are in charge of your safety and your everyday existence. The government can't even be there for those things. They can only be there if there's like some huge, like a hurricane or a tornado. They can't be there because everybody in your town is sick, because the people who would come to help you are probably sick too. So you need to be prepared and have enough food, water, and sanitary supplies so that should something happen in your town or within your own family, you're not having a huge problem trying to figure out how to have enough to eat, how to have enough to take care of yourselves, and either staying out of danger or being able to recover in the safety of your home. So please prepare at a minimum of 2 weeks of supplies and up to 3 months, just to make sure that you can take care of your family no matter what comes along your way. Be prepared to shelter in place and do some social distancing if it should come to that. Pay attention to what's going on in your community so that you are aware if this is a possibility that you need to decide to enforce for yourself and your family. Please subscribe to Alaska Granny and have a wonderful day.